Please, this is the Goffstown Select Board meeting for January 21st. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today we got minutes for 1/6 and 1/13. Go
Would
ahead.
you mind just starting off with a roll as you do?
Oh,
that?
that's right. Collis is on the phone tonight, so we'll do a roll call. Collis?
Yeah, hi, I'm here. I'm in my home office. I'm alone, and shouldn't be disturbed unless my pup comes walking through looking for me.
All right.
Hello, yes.
Mark Lemay, Pete Georgantis.
Kelly Boyer.
Jim Craig.
Okay, we'll start with the acceptance and correction of minutes. We came out today, 1/6 and 1/13.
I make a motion, we accept the 1/6/25 minutes with corrections if need be.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, roll call. Collis?
Aye.
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 Yes.
And 1/13.
I make a motion to accept the January 13 minutes with corrections if need be.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. We'll call a roll call vote. Collis?
Aye.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
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 Okay, motion passes. We have any announcements, Derek? I don't see any.
I don't have any, no.
Okay, then we have a select board review of a citizens submitted petition articles. Article seeking to raise and appropriate $50,000 to fund a third-party operational efficiency study of the town departments. Do we want to,
Yeah, so I asked,
Brian, you want to
Brian.
speak to that, or?
Sure.
I know the budget committee turned it down, but I don't know how you guys are going to, how you want to handle it now. In fact, I think you made the motion, didn't you?
I'll describe that. So, good evening, Chair and Board. My name is Brian Maisler, 39 Shirley Park Ave. That's where I reside. I am representing myself, not part of any board or committee. And so what you guys have seen, I am one of the petitioners putting forth this citizen warrant article. There has been there is an idea, and there's a proposed amendment that I think you circulated to the board, or
no, I didn't, if you could
Okay.
just describe, sorry.
yeah.
but-
So based upon the feedback that the citizens gave to the budget committee, based upon the initial intent of the warrant article, us petitioners want to amend the language, and I can read the language for the record.
Oh, I guess my question is,
Yeah.
were these petitioners there?
I can't comment to all of them that were there. I think majority were, but I don't know if all of them were there.
So how do we go about,
Well, let me,
go ahead, Derek. I'm going to let Derek speak about it, because I don't agree that you can, at the budget committee, can amend this for the petitioners.
so again, I'm not representing the budget committee. I'm making a proposal to potentially amend it. I can only amend it at the deliberative.
Right.
So I'm just having a conversation about the process and what we potentially want to do as petitioners.
So only thing I want to consider is what I have in front of me.
Okay, fair enough.
That's, we consider any kind of an amendment at the deliberative session.
Yeah.
Okay, is
Okay.
that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about what's in front of us.
So what you have in front of you, which I don't have the exact copy, because I only have the amended, but basically,
Here you go.
oh, thank you, Derek. The petitioners wants to put forth an appropriation for the sum of $50,000 to fund a third-party operational efficiency study to audit all the departments within the town, which are listed below. And the aspiration is to identify any opportunities to improve efficiencies or identify any potential risks within the town of Goffstown. So it would encompass all 6 departments. And that's what we want to bring forth. And again, the intent behind this, I was looking for your recommendation on this. But again, as you know, in regards to the capacity of the budget committee, we made a vote for non-recommendation. Actually, it was my motion, because again, the intent was, as a private citizen, I was gonna bring forth the amendment at deliberative, so. But I'll be happy to any kind of questions, because I think this is about public trust and to drive further transparency and accountability for the community. I'm not an expert in efficiency studies, nor do I want to be, but I think this will be prudent exercise for the town to go through, because my understanding, the town has never gone through this at all. There's been some self-evaluations, but never been done by a third-party entity to come in and from an unbiased perspective.
Okay.
So,
Just off the top, I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, but a question here is operational efficiency study and audit. We do an audit every year. We get audited. We have a company come in. This would be a duplication of efforts unless you're saying you just want an efficiency study. An audit and an efficiency study are not the same thing. So I guess my question would be, and audit, why would we pay again for an audit when we already do that? What's the cost for our audit off the top of your head, Derek, you know? Danielle?
I think we're budgeted 20,000 in that area.
Right.
Because there's something for the other sewer.
Yeah.
So does this $50,000 include an actual financial audit? Is that what this is?
So again, just talking to, as a private citizen, talking to a firm that does this, again, I didn't tender any kind of, any bids, because again, that's not my capacity. It was just, I wanted to get a order of magnitude and what it would cost based upon their works and engagement with other communities that have done this. You're right, it's not really a financial audit, it's more of a study across the departments. It's more about workforce efficiencies, looking at service delivery optimizations, stuff like that. Different buckets where they will look at, and again, I'm not an expert in this, but I'm trusting that these third-party entities, whoever gets awarded it, would actually come in and look at every component to see how well we're doing and where we can actually improve. And I hope that this board and the citizens will recognize that, because again, I'm not saying, I don't think the petitioner is saying that the town is being mismanaged. I think we're running it well, but I think if we're honest with all of ourselves, we want to improve. And I think this is a way to improve, because again, no one knows everything. Even though you might be competent in your field, you don't know everything, right? So I want to make sure that this is very clear to get better. Because who knows? You may come back and they might say, you know what, you need to have more personnel in this particular department. That could be a reality, right? But again, without knowing, the citizens won't know exactly how money is spent and what are you getting for an outcome, right? So I think this, again, provides better public trust and more visibility and more accountability.
Okay, and then the way this article, also the way it's written, it doesn't give any instructions. Like, it doesn't say authorize the select board to go out for an RFP or out for proposal or any of that. That all has to, I would assume would have to be in there to give somebody direction on what to do. If this just says put in a warrant article, so we can put the warrant article in there, and then we'd have to come back with something at a later date saying, all right, now we're authorizing the selectmen, or it would have to be the selectmen, because they're the only ones that have the authority to do it, to go out for an RFP. So the way this is written, I don't think is proper. Derek, what, have you given any direction on that?
No, I think many times we have the warrant article as more the general scope, and then if town meeting appropriated those funds, the select board would need to follow their purchasing policy, and for an amount in that area, you would go out to bid for that.
Okay, so this authorizes the select board to do that.
I think it appropriates the money to do that. You don't need specific authorization to do that. This appropriates money for that purpose.
Okay. Anybody else, Jim?
No, I just want to clear, there was a 15-0 recommendation from a non-recommendation, so just want to be clear, that was because of what you heard at the public hearing, and you decided to amend it, and therefore you made the motion to not recommend it.
Yeah, as a budget committee member, I didn't amend anything. I just made a motion to non-recommend the citizen petition warrant article, and so based upon that, obviously, it failed.
And the vote was as it was because there's an amendment coming? Well, you
I-
can't speak for everybody
I can't speak
else,
for
but
everyone,
yeah.
no.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we really can't do anything with this until we see what the article is, right?
So you need to make a vote this
formal-
evening,
Yes.
whether you're going to recommend or not recommend as
As
it was,
presented.
as it was
Yes.
submitted.
Okay. Mark, go ahead, you had a question.
I have a question for Derek,
Go ahead.
Peter, if I may. Derek, has the town ever been engaged in lien process at all? Are you familiar with it?
Yes, we lien properties for taxes, is that what you're referring to?
No, it's a process that both private and public organizations and entities use to examine their current process states to look for improvements and ways to make, to reduce those problems.
So
I
like,
participated in many of them at the state level, and they don't cost very much at all. In fact, a lot of times they're free.
so yes, I think you're referring to lien certification.
Right.
We did not find any evidence of, or could recall through just the memory banks of employees here, that had occurred here at town.
Okay, well, I would want to see that examined as a much cheaper alternative to perhaps achieve the same goal.
Okay. But I think, Collis, right now we're dealing with what's in front of us. That's all we can deal with at this time. So,
Yeah.
but that's, that's something we can bring up at a later date to research, in a later meeting. Get some information on it. Mark, go ahead.
So Derek, what we have done, or what we do every year, is this what he's talking about, or is this a different form of an audit?
That is our financial audit,
Yeah,
and the financial audit does ask for, ask questions of the select board as well as the department heads and those offices that collect funds of potential issues for potential fraud. So it does look at some risk elements, but it's really more risk elements or potential fraud and some of the measures. They also look at our financial policies, our adherence to our financial policies. So it really focuses on that. It does not focus on operational efficiency per se.
so as I understand it, there's financial and operational. After hearing you say what this is all about, I think we don't need what Brian is looking for here tonight. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, I have a bunch of questions, but I don't know that they'll be able to answer. But I guess in the RFP process, since it sounds like that would be on the select board to dictate based on this, that, we would consider companies who have experience with municipalities and all the legalities that go along that, that they've already worked with communities and what kind of outcomes were engaged with in those studies, how long does this process take, what's needed for resources as far as staff time, files, et cetera. The metrics for saying something's inefficient could be improved or increased efficiency. What do those recommendations look like? And then is there a need from, or a will from the budget committee to work on improving those things? Because as we know, those things cost money, so.
So let's take up what we have in front of us, which is,
Right.
do we recommend or not recommend the way this is been presented to us? And the budget committee voted not to recommend. Is that correct?
They had a 15 to 0 vote to not recommend the petition article as submitted.
Okay, anybody else?
I'll make a motion if you'd like.
Go ahead.
Well, can I just
Go
make
ahead.
a suggestion? I think I had put both this and the other petition article under item number 4, and then your first item would be to review and make recommendations on the annual warrant. So really, this would be your opportunity to do that, and then we can handle, if you prefer, you could handle the entire annual warrant altogether, or you could take this out of order. So it's really the two options for you. because you do have another petition article that was submitted.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine, it doesn't really matter, I mean, so go ahead, let's go in the second one. This is another petitioned article, was this one brought by, do we have any other petitioners here for this one?
Yes, I think.
Thank you.
Is this the one with the?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yep.
Good evening. How you all doing?
All right, how are you?
Very well.
Thank you for what you do for our town. It's appreciated.
Thank you. So your name and address?
Brian Templeton, 176 Kennedy Hill Road.
Okay, Brian, and you're before us to discuss a petition warrant article?
Yeah, well, we were asked to come, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I think that what the main purpose of it is that it provides a higher level of convenience and expediency to the citizens of the town if they have questions about where the money is being spent, you know? And I think it also gives a good opportunity for the town to basically say, we're transparent and we want to give our citizens the easiest opportunity to get their questions answered. It's really just that simple.
All right. Questions, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Derek, could you talk about, so this is specifically mentioning a check register on the town website.
Yes.
I'm assuming that you know the differences between what our reports that we already put up and what the difference between this would be? And
Yes.
how easily our financial systems could pull reports like this that would be usable?
Yeah, so I think looking at the system, we just did a quick little exercise to look at what we can pull from the database and to see what the system has for canned reports, or to write a small report to actually pull those fields. We don't feel that it would be too difficult to do this on a monthly, or if the board wanted, we could also do it on a weekly basis, where, because really, the only information you'd be putting out there is the check number, who that vendor was for, and what that amount is. We've looked at many of the towns and school districts throughout the state that do that, and that's typically what they put out. They might include the warrant number, so you can tell which warrant it was part of, but most of the check register information, so we can easily pull that from the Munis database.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we didn't have to pay to have a report built.
No, when we moved over to this enterprise system, we wanted a system that we would have the ability to write reports as needed and to do queries. So we do have that ability.
The amount of manpower required to pull a report?
So what we would want to do is write a custom report, or see if there's already a canned report in that. That way we're not duplicating the same efforts every week. But once the report is built, whether again it's a canned report in Munis or it's something that we build, it's probably maybe 15 to 30 minutes. You're going to have somebody in the finance office define what the dates would be, which warrants you're pulling from. They would create the file, and then they would have to have IT actually post it on the website. It's very similar to what the police department does with the weekly police blotter with the log of arrests.
Okay. All right.
No, I just want to say, Mr. Templeton, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
That this, I just want to say for future reference, things like this that are relatively easy and you know, I'm all for exercising the rights of the process and you doing that. But I just want to encourage, if you have ideas like this that are easy, don't cost anything, it's something that we can easily manage, just, you know, come in to a meeting and ask whichever governing body to do those things. I think this is pretty straightforward, and most would be like, yeah, we'll just do it for you, so that, you know, absolutely use the processes, but I think it's easier than that if you have more ideas in the future.
Point taken, thank you.
All right, great, thanks. Thank you. Okay, our next appointment is with Brian. And step up, Brian. And Brian is requesting the Select Board explore expendable trust fund, RSI 31:19-A, for maintenance and improvement of Town Hall break room.
Yeah, I'll repeat myself again. Brian Mazer, 39 Shirley Park Road, for the record. Yeah, the intent behind this was So I think it was last calendar year, my wife and I, Lisa, we worked for the town. We got some income and we didn't want to keep it, we wanted to give it back to the town. Talking to Derek, there's no mechanism to do that in regards to providing a gift for a particular purpose, a specific purpose. And so that's why I'm in front of you asking you if we can create, or you can create an expendable trust fund for myself and my wife Lisa and others to actually donate to a particular purpose. And our intent was to help with the renovation and maintenance, if not improvements, of the break room in the town hall.
Okay. Derek, you got any input, or?
Yeah, so in your packet at tab 5, you have, there's really kind of two different mechanisms. There's a traditional trust fund that we've seen, that's typically when somebody comes in with a will or some type of instrument and directs donated funds to be used for a stated purpose. Those are held by the trustees of the trust fund, and you know, those kind of have to be held, and there's very specific rules on how those can be spent. Typically, it's spelled out in the donation instrument that the town receives. And then there is expendable trust funds, which is something that is authorized at town meeting by the voters. It's for a specific purpose, a municipal purpose, and they name agents. So it's similar to a capital reserve fund. However, 31:19-A does allow for privately donated gifts, legacies, and devices. The problem, or I guess the only hesitation we have, and would love more time to research this, is the New Hampshire Charitable Trust Foundation. They are very specific that any donated funds have to be, they cannot be commingled with any town appropriated fund. So like a capital reserve fund, town meeting can make appropriations to deposit into these funds. And any interest that is created from these would have to stay in there, and the agents to expend could expend. The New Hampshire Charitable Trust Foundation is very specific that if you receive donated funds for that same purpose and you put it in there, it must be accounted for separately, and it must be tracked by the individual person that donates it. Because if you get to a point where town meeting were to terminate one of these expendable trust funds, you're still holding on to that privately donated, so that any appropriated money goes back into the general fund. But the donated funds, you would have to reach out to those individual donors to see if we're going to continue to, or if we're going to set up a trust fund under 31:19 for those funds, or if we're going to retain them for those purpose, and they can only be used for that purpose.
That's like the Historical Society, where that was donated, and we really can't do anything with it because there's so many heirs out there that you would have to.
Yeah, we've had that with quite a few things. So New Hampshire Charitable Trust Foundation has training online, and that's what they talk about. You cannot commingle appropriated funds and donated funds, and those donated funds have to be specifically tracked, so you make sure that they are used for the purpose. And if you get to any point where you get to a point where you want to terminate the fund, or it's,
That's the issue.
yeah, then that's the issue. The other thing is, if the board were going to consider something like this, we would recommend, you may not want to have a scope that's so narrow that it's only like a town hall break room. It may be something where you're looking at maintenance and expansion or improvements in all municipal buildings, or if you're looking at a very specific thing, that may be a better way to set it up. So there's a little bit of flexibility, with the understanding that those agents, whoever the named agent that town meeting names, are the ones that make that decision on that. And then the funds are held by the trustees of the trust fund.
So Brian donates a microwave, and then that fund goes away, or we have to take that microwave and track it down and give it back to him? Is that what
No,
you're
this
saying?
is really only funds. This is if
Just
somebody were,
dollars.
yes, if somebody were to come in and say, we want to put $1,000 towards this building renovation, or this building, improvements or maintenance, then we would need to make sure. So if the board was going to go down the expendable trust fund, you would want to have it narrow enough that people that are donating are certain that their donations are being used in the way they want it to be used, but not so narrow that it can't be used, or it's just kind of funds that are stuck in there. Because we have quite a few cemetery trust funds that are kind of stuck, of how we can use them.
And this has to be voted on by the voters?
If you were to do the expendable trust fund under 3119A, yes, that is something that can be done that has to be done by the voters. They have to set it up, they have to, if there's going to be any appropriation into it, they need to approve that, so the budget committee would also weigh in on that, and then they need to name agents. If it was more a traditional trust fund, we have a trust fund policy, which is in your packet. Normally what we see is donors come in with a gift instrument that is very clear. Is it the donation that can be used, or is it only income? We have some where a large sum of money was donated, but only the income can be used for that specific purpose. And those are really spelled out, and then that's how many of our scholarship funds for high school students are also tracked.
Okay,
I have a bunch of questions.
go ahead.
So I sent Derek an email with a million questions, so thank you, Derek, on the read ahead for answering a handful of those. So I just wanted to clarify a couple that I didn't see on here. You answered those. As far as the funds being dispersed, so the custody of the funds is the trustee of the trust funds, but how would it go into, like, I'm thinking of other donations where you have to accept the donation, but then how would, like, town hall, for example, disperse the funds? Would the select board then be the governing body to say, town hall, you can use these funds that are in the trust?
So ultimately, it's up to the trustees of the trust fund to make sure, it's usually we do it as a reimbursement, and we present all the documentation to the trustees of the trust fund that certain projects have met that requirement to be paid out of those funds, and we give them a disbursement voucher, and they review those against whether it's an expendable trust fund set up by town meeting or a traditional trust fund. So, and then if there's any question before you start the project, we'll have that conversation with the trustees of the trust fund.
And then are either of these funds, are they able to collect interest on any donations or any funds in there?
Yes, it's very much like a capital reserve fund. It does, the interest accrues. And then if there's also a state law that provides for, if the trustees of the trust fund have a financial manager, they can compensate that financial manager that helps them with the management of these funds from income earned in those trust funds as well.
And what happens if the funds aren't used? Then the trustees have to go through the process of trying to give them back to,
So if they just sit, if it's an expendable trust fund, they will just sit there in perpetuity until town meeting at some future time determines that they want to terminate the expendable trust fund. And then, like I said, any funds appropriated at town meeting would just lapse back into the general fund, but donated funds we would have to track separately, and then if it's a real long time, you have to go through probate court and do the cypre process.
and what are the legal ramifications if the money is misused? And what I mean by misuse is, I know my only experience with this in a municipal setting is with the library, and sometimes people will specify a specific book or a type of book or something like that. So if the description is generalized into like remodel, and then someone comes back and says, oh, I meant for it to be for a fridge and you didn't use the money, or that's what I meant, like, is there any risk in misuse of funds, or is that just strictly up to the trustees?
I think it would be up to the trustees, but anything that the trustees of the trust fund do there could be a petition to court that they weren't used in the manner that was approved by town meeting. And then if it was a donor concern that it wasn't used in a manner that they donated the funds, then
Okay.
They would have some recourse as well.
And then, not specific to either of the trusts, but then for policies, so I tried today to look for some policy. I don't know if you found in NHMA, if you looked to see if any other municipalities had things set up like this for specific.
I did not get a chance to
Purposes?
research if there's expendable trust policies. I would say you would want to either create a separate policy or modify your current one to include them.
Because I personally, in policy writing experience would be uncomfortable doing this without some sort of policy that dictated that department members and departments aren't to be fundraising or soliciting donations for these, because I think that's inappropriate for departments to be pushing for people to make donations instead of using the budgetary process. And I have a
get it.
lot of feelings about
And
the manipulation of that option, and not in a nefarious way, but just in we're setting a precedent that things can be.
so, to spend those funds, that's whoever the manager of the fund, who's ever appointed, can spend those funds without approvals?
Well, both are trustee of the trust funds.
So
Yeah, but-
the agent would spend them, and then you would get reimbursement from the trustees of the trust
And
fund.
who reviews those expenditures?
The finance office does here, similar to when we buy a piece of, when we did land acquisition in 2024, whenever we do acquisition of fire apparatus, we put together a full packet of information, and we bring a disbursement voucher down to the select board for you to approve. Then the trustees of the trust fund at a properly noticed public meeting will review that, and then they will release those funds back to the town.
Now, you mentioned the budget committee also, they have to approve this?
If you are going to appropriate public funds into it, yes. If you were going to, like a capital reserve fund, if you were going to say, we're going to start putting money into this, the difference is capital reserve funds can only be public money for capital expenditures. Expendable trust funds, private donations can go for the same purpose. They have to be tracked completely separate, and they cannot be commingled. But people can donate, so it's kind of like a halfway, it's almost like a halfway in between a
Yeah.
capital reserve fund and a traditional
it.
trust fund.
And when do we have to make a decision on this?
If you were going to propose this to town meeting, you need to make that decision this evening, because you need to post the warrant. I think if you decide not to include it on the town warrant, it does not preclude you from looking into expendable trust funds for a variety of reasons if you were going to go to that model. I think one of the things we heard at the budget committee is that perhaps the town and school may want to start looking to those expendable trust funds and capital reserve funds to start saving up for some of these larger cost items to lessen the impact on taxpayers.
Okay, I just think at the last minute like this, it's kind of tough to, there's still questions, and like you said, policies need to be set up, and I'm not sure if maybe this might be premature for this time, but I would think that would be advantageous for us to set something that up and maybe come forward with it next year with, certain spelled out policies. Or can you do this now, and then somebody says, well, what are you gonna do with it? You don't have the answer because we haven't set up a policy yet.
Well, I'm worried about a couple things. Is there a tie to the language similar to a capital reserve fund if we were to establish something? Or can the purpose for the trust be adjusted?
The purpose of the trust can be adjusted by town meeting. Same
So
way.
I'm worried about that.
That's what I'm saying. You wait until you know you got
Yeah.
really good, strong language on it. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but I'm just saying, if you waited till, you gotta have your Ts crossed and your Is dotted when you go with something like this, or you end up with a mess. Well, all right, we'll take this up and talk about it.
Did you already reach out to it wasn't the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, but now that's all I want, my brain can, the New Hampshire Trust?
We did
reach out
request
to
some
them?
information from the town attorney on this specific matter. But as you can imagine, we are not their only client, and many of them are municipal clients that are
Going through,
preparing for
yeah.
a deliberative session as well. So we have yet to hear back on this item.
All right. Thanks, Brian. We'll work on it.
All right.
Try to come up with something, but I don't know, at this short of notice, I think for procedures, we need to have something a little bit more concrete from our side as far as like policies and stuff, before we just, you hate to implement something and then come up with the policies
Sure.
later, you know? So, all
Yeah,
right,
no, I
thank you.
appreciate your time. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Derek, I have another question. This says legacies as well. Would that be, so someone could leave something in their will?
Yes, yep.
Okay, I'm good.
Good?
Thank you.
Okay, so next up is the town administrator's report.
Yes, the first item I have is at tab 6A. You have a draft of the annual warrant. And what I'd be seeking from you this evening is confirmation of recommendation votes on articles, and also to see if you want to modify the order of any items. So the first one would be Article 9, that is the general fund operating budget. The Budget Committee recommended the budget of $25,976,883 by a vote of 15 to 0 to 0. And I'd just be asking for a motion and approval on whether you want to vote to recommend or not recommend the Budget Committee's budget.
Do you want to talk about it, or do you want
Go
a
ahead,
motion?
go ahead. If you-
I'll make a motion to recommend the general operating fund budget article, Article 9, for the amount of $25,976,883.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next.
The next item, Article 10, is the Sewer Enterprise Fund budget in the amount of $2,236,502. This was recommended by the Budget Committee, 15 to 0 to 0, and recommended by the Sewer Commissioners, 3 to 0 to 0. We are waiting on confirmation on Town Council on whether or not we can include the Sewer Commissioners vote on the warrant and on the ballot, but otherwise, we do need a recommendation from the Select Board.
But it would just be Select Board and Budget Committee if they're not included?
If they are included, we would include all three.
Right, yeah.
But if the attorney, so DRA said it was okay, but to consult with our town attorney. So if our attorney advises us against that, then we would just simply remove the Sewer Commissioners' recommendation, and we would simply include that in the presentation at deliberative session and in the voter's guide, but we would not include it on the warrant or on the ballot.
When do we expect to hear from our legal counsel?
I was hoping to hear answer to all these questions today.
You responded on this one last week.
Oh, we did. Can you advise? I don't remember seeing it.
Good evening. Just a quick update, the attorney for the town advised that it would be the sewer commission and the budget committee only,
Okay,
since it is a separate article.
okay,
So we don't have to have
So
a...
you don't have to have a recommendation in this one.
Okay.
thank you. Okay, so Article 11, this is the cost items for the collective bargaining agreement between the Select Board and the professional firefighters of Goffstown. In the first year, it would appropriate $136,983. I already have the board that you recommended these cost items by a unanimous vote of 5 to 0 to 0. And if you don't want to change it, we can move on to the next article.
Move on to the next one. I don't think we want to change it, right?
nope, all set.
Okay, Article 12, this is to raise and appropriate $350,000 to deposit into the Fire Department Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund. This sum to come from an unassigned fund balance, no new amount to be raised by taxation. This was recommended by the Budget Committee, 14 to 1 to 0.
I'll make
I'll make
a
a motion to recommend it, move it on to the ballot.
second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Mark. Any further discussion, questions? Not Collis, your vote?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Thank you. Article 13, this is to vote to raise and appropriate an additional $450,000 for the Goffstown's Road Improvement Program. Passage of this article will direct the Select Board to include this amount in future operating and default budgets of the town of Goffstown. This was not recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 9 to 6 to 0.
I'm happy to share budget committee sentiments if you guys want to hear. I don't know if it matters to this board, but.
Go ahead.
I mean, I can share, I think most of you were there, but some members of the committee felt torn between making this as a separate financial recommendation as it's tied to the budget, and because this was cut from the budget, people had conflicting feelings about whether or not to recommend or not recommend, which, so anyways, there was.
Didn't several of them say that because of they've taken the positions that they've taken on the budget committee, they want to vote no, but if it is on the warrant, they will
Yeah.
vote yes for it?
Yeah.
So,
I think it was more ideological talk about the budget committee's work and their vote as budget committee members, so.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion for Article 13 for the additional funds for the road improvement for $450,000.
So this would be a vote to recommend.
Recommend.
I'll second that.
Motion by Jim, seconded by, motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any discussion, comments? Vote, Collis?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
that'll go as recommended.
The next one is Article 14. Again, this is the petition article seeking to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to fund a third-party operational efficiency study and audit of all departments. And you have the language in your packet.
I'll make a motion that we not recommend the article as presented, Article 14.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? I'm sorry, Collis?
Yes.
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 Can we put this petition warrant article at the end with the other petition warrant article?
You can, if you want to move it. Do you want to move it to, we would move Articles 15 and 16 ahead of it. Those would become 14 and 15.
Yeah, thank you. that'd be-
This one would become 16.
So it'd be 16 and 17.
I think that's a good idea.
Yep, can do that. So we'll go to the new article, number 14. This is to change the share of franchise fee revenues received from our cable franchise agreement that go into the existing cable access revolving fund. Currently 70% of the cable franchise fee goes into that. This is seeking to change that to 100% of the cable franchise fee would go into the cable access revolving fund.
I think the reason we went with this was because the actual fees we're getting, or the revenues we're getting, are going to drop on a regular basis. Is that correct?
They are slowly decreasing quarter over quarter. It's kind of hard to predict how long it will take for them to reduce down to zero. A lot of it depends on whether or not there'll be FCC changes. Currently, streaming services and different streaming services do not have to pay cable franchise fees, whereas the cable companies, Comcast, does have to pay that franchise fee. So there's always a potential that there'll be a change on the federal level that the franchise fee goes away completely. So that's why we were seeking to move 100% to get it into the cable access revolving fund before these revenues completely disappear.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 14.
Second.
Any question?
I just had a question that,
Go ahead.
so basically we're removing 30% from, not removing, but 30% of that will no longer be going into the general fund, correct?
Correct, 30% will no longer be going into the general fund. Throughout the budgetary process, we had zeroed out this revenue line, so all presentations to the budget committee on revenue that would be offsetting our appropriations did not include this, so this would not change what the budget committee considered.
So 100% will just go to GTV.
Right.
So we had a motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark, right?
Yes.
Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, Collis?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 The new article number 15, this is to modify the solar exemption. Currently, the town adopted the solar exemption in 2015, and 100% of the amount of residential solar energy systems up to the first 10 kilowatt hour, or 10 kilowatts is exempt. This is seeking to increase that from 10 kilowatts to the first 20 kilowatts. You heard this at your December meeting, and so this would be a change into basically the value of that additional, anything between just over 10 kilowatts to 20 kilowatts.
I'll make a motion, we accept Article 15 to modify solar exemptions adopted in 2015 from 10 kilowatts to 20 kilowatts.
So that'd be to recommend to the voters?
Yes.
Right.
I'll second that, Peter.
Okay, anybody got any questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Collis?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
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 Motion passes.
Okay, Article 16 you already voted on again, and then the other petition article is Article 17. This would be to direct the town to make available access to the check register on the town website. There is some additional language that's included with the petition that's in your packet.
You said the cost would be minor.
The cost would be minor once we have it set up to do that, yes.
This is done by other towns, you also said, right?
What's
Other
that?
towns do this.
There are other towns and other school districts in the state of New Hampshire that already do this.
Now, has the school voted on this yet?
No, it's my understanding the school board is meeting tomorrow night. They received a similar petition, and they're meeting tomorrow night to make their final votes on their operating budget, their capital reserve fund in this petition article.
Oh, no problem. Somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion, we move forward with Article 17 to bring it to the voters.
So this would be to recommend to the voters?
Recommend.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, call for a vote. Collis?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you.
So we'll go to town administrator's report.
Yes, at tab 6B, you have a consent agenda. You have employee status reports. You have a full-time firefighter receiving AEMT incentive per the collective bargaining agreement. You also have a per diem EMTB. This is a new hire. And then added this afternoon and received today, we have a retirement of our benefits administrator.
That's effective in March.
It's effective in March, yes. But we're
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jim. Any questions, comments? Seeing none. Collis?
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
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 At 6C, you have a memo from the Department of Public Works. They are seeking your approval for a hazardous tree removal on Fearson Road. Fearson Road is a scenic road. Typically, the process for removing trees on a scenic road is a public hearing with the planning board. However, state law does allow for the governing body to identify trees that are identified as hazardous. There is a 30-day notice period for those immediately abutting the property. Adam's hope is if the board were to approve this evening, and you do have pictures of the state of those trees in your packet, that he would reach out to the property owner immediately so that they could waive that 30-day period and remove them sooner rather than later.
And there's more trees that he's bringing to the planning board, correct?
He does have more trees that he's bringing to the planning board under the public hearing, but right now there are 2 decayed trees on the frontage of lot 239 that are hazardous, and as you can see from the pictures, they've already had quite a few limbs taken off by the power companies.
The financial impact, will that come out of this year's budget or next year's budget?
It'll come out of the 2025 budget.
Okay.
Motion.
Any other? I'll make a motion to recommend the declaration of 2 trees as identified on Pearson Road, Lot 2-39 as a public nuisance, and authorizing the Department of Public Works to proceed with notification and removal per RSA 231:145.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, call for a vote. Collis?
Yes, I've seen the trees that need to go.
All right,
Yes, sir.
yes.
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 And the final item I have is a request for a budget transfer. This is in 2024. The Department of Public Works received their end of the year invoice from Continental Paving, and we are seeking to transfer funds from the townwide insurance benefits and 3 wage lines in fire operations, police operations, and in admin finance to help cover that invoice. And you've got the details in front of you.
Was passed out, right?
Yeah. And it was sent by email this afternoon.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of appropriations from the insurance benefit line, PD operations, full-time wages, fire operation, full-time wages line, and finance full-time wages line into the DPW reclamation line in accordance with NHRSA 32:10.
I'll second that.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jim. Any discussion, questions?
What do we have left for money?
In this budget,
Yeah, or is it pretty well shot?
so I think when we came to you last week and as we went to the budget committee for the budget hearing last week, we believe we're going to be under expended on our total appropriation by approximately $500,000, $500,000. So we're very close to our total appropriation, and that's part of the reason we felt comfortable recommending the use of fund balance for the purpose of depositing into the fire apparatus capital reserve fund, but that we did not feel comfortable doing any other articles from fund balance.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Mark.
Could we go into non-public to discuss department personnel?
After this, we...
Yeah.
Yes, I have a request for hiring, but yes, we can
Okay.
add, yep.
Okay, so the motion was made by Kelly, it was seconded by Jim. We'll call for a vote. Collis?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Is there anything else?
The only other item I had is I did have 2 non-public requests for hiring that I'd be seeking the board's authorization for.
Is there anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, and we'll be going into non-public session RSA 91:A, 3(2) if necessary. Make
So
the motion,
yes, it
Mark.
would be under under subsection A and then subsection B.
Mark made that motion.
Yep.
Kelly, you seconded it?
Yep. Second.
What are you limping for?
Do you want to do a roll call vote?
That'll be a roll
Yeah.
call.
Collis?
Yes.
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 Poor guy's back there limping around us.
I'll let you borrow my scooter if you want.
All right, let us just get set up here and then we'll go.
Do I need to call back in for the non-public?
No, we're gonna stay in this room, Collis.